Hey, so look, I've been mulling over this conversation.
Mhm.
There's a lot going on. We have social media. We have everybody around this world is talking on this buzzword, and we're gonna dive into this buzzword. And everybody is talking about the power of being able to build a brand.
Mm.
And I want to bring this up and kind of have this conversation with you guys about the power of building the brand of you.
Mhm.
Like if you look at your life and you look at regardless of what you do, how many people do you think actually recognize that whether they know it or not, whether it's intentional or not, they are a brand and they're building a brand
Yep.
about themselves?
Yeah.
Like what is your take? How many people do you think, first off, is aware of the power behind building this brand? And maybe start off with that. Like, what's the power of a brand? Before we even ask the question, I mean, do people know it? Like, what's the purpose of building a brand that you think? Why does it matter?
Ooh. My mentor told me the definition of a brand was a series of artifacts or breadcrumbs that you leave out to show people who you are and what you do.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times most people are so caught up in labels and syntax and words and actions as well.
Mm.
Um, and they judge, you know. The reason why they say don't judge a book by its cover is because everybody does that. That's what they do is actually judge a book by its cover.
Right.
They eat
I
the
know I
menu.
do.
They eat the menu, not the food, right?
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. That's just pattern recognition.
Mm.
I think it's up to us to make sure that how we carry ourselves and how we present ourselves and the actions we take are incongruent with who we actually are inside, right?
Mm.
You could feel I know people that feel happy inside, but they got RBF,
Mm.
right? Resting in face. You know what I'm saying? I know people who act nice, beware those who come to you in sheep's clothing because
Mm.
underneath they're ravaging
Talk to 'em.
wolves. And so when I think of branding, I think of attract and repel. If I am showing and being who I am, I'm going to repel people that I don't
Mm.
want in my life and I don't want to be a part of, and I'm going to attract those in my tribe.
I love that.
What's your thoughts, bro?
I love that Dips mentioned that word congruency. That's such like a powerful word that I think either knowingly or unknowingly, so many people strive in life to be congruent, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to you talking about brands, I think what's important to realize about branding is that people will support your brand because of who you are outside of your brand. You know what I mean? Like, what is your brand built on? Like,
Mhm.
what is the foundation that it stands on?
Mhm.
So let's just throw like a hypothetical situation out of there. If I have a Christian brand and I'm labeling like this is my Christian clothing brand,
Yeah.
but people know outside of that clothing brand, Cameron doesn't stand on those Christian principles. Do be wilding, right? Like we've seen the stuff Cam be doing and
Mhm.
congruency.
Yeah.
We're talking about the opposite at that point. We're talking about polar opposites.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of branding has to do with that congruency and you being authentic to that brand.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite authors, rest in peace, was Stephen Covey. We talk about him a lot. He's written some amazing books that have become
Dope.
principles in our
Yeah,
mindset,
yeah.
right? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has
Yeah.
literally put me on this trajectory that I have traveled and built probably over the last 20 years.
Right.
There's one takeaway in that book that I've mentioned and quoted and have stood on for many, many years because it always stood out to me to be like this profound principle the first time I read it. And then as the older and the wiser and more mature I've gotten,
Mm.
I've really been able to peel back the definition of what he was truly saying in that book. And one of the things that he mentioned was that you have to live life with your funeral in mind. What does that mean?
Mm.
We don't walk around every day thinking about our death, right? But what he says is you have to live life in a way where you say, when I'm gone,
Mhm.
when I leave this place,
Mhm.
and I'm in the wooden box, and the pastor says, does anyone want to come up and share any stories?
Yeah.
What are they going to say about me? What are they going to say about the impact that I left and the legacy that I've left and that indention that I've made on this place called Earth during my short time here, right? So I've carried that with me since, I don't know, this when we were at 17 years old, 18 years old, when we read that book.
17, 18, yep.
But for 20 years now, that's how I've lived my life.
Mm.
Meaning that when my work is done and I'm no longer here, what will be said about my personal brand
Yeah.
and the work that I've done during my short time here on Earth? So to me, that's what building a brand means. Whether it's intentional, a clothing brand, a work company, a logo that you recognize me for, moving mountains,
Mhm.
or is it just a story and my character and my day-to-day habits that I've left, on people's memory?